Hello, my friends. This is life coach Mike Trugman, and welcome to an episode of Mike's Search for Meaning. I'm after some big questions. Why are we here? What makes a fulfilling life? How can we grow individually and collectively? Each episode, I'll dive deep with leaders who are doing great work in the world and see how they organize their life. Books read, value systems, resources used, and stories that show how each of you can create the life and the world of your dreams. All right, Melissa, welcome to Mike's Search for Meaning.
Thanks, Mike. I'm very excited to be here. I don't know what we're going to be searching for, but I anticipate it's going to be pretty amazing when we get there.
It's in my experience, it usually turns out to be pretty amazing. And I've read your book and I've listened to a lot of conversations you've had. And I could say with a strong degree of confidence that we'll cover some interesting terrain. Let's just say that, and it'll be amazing. So your book is called Living Service, and I am a coach, and my podcast isn't for coaches. And I think that, one of the things I was really drawn to about your book is like maybe spoiler alert and kind of punchline of the book is that service can be a way of being, a way of living that, talk about meaningful, I am finding is incredibly life enriching. And I am present to meaning and fulfillment more often in my life when I lean more into service. And so, one of the things that I had teed up and you shared with me in your pre-work that it would be interesting to talk about living a great life. And I thought an interesting place to start with you would be if someone like walked up to you in the streets of Chicago and stopped you and said, "Hey, Melissa, I would really love to learn how to live a great life. What might you start talking?" And they take out their notepad and they're ready to listen. What might you start talking about to them?
Well, I probably would not start talking to them. I'd probably say to them, "Hey, do you have 60 minutes? Why don't we have a conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your life. And why are you asking me that question? And what about your life is great? And how do you define that? And what area would you want it to be greater, more amazing, more more fully expressed?" That's where I would start. I would not start with, "Let me tell you how to live a great life," because my experience is that I really did not know how to live a great life. I felt like life was happening to me for a very long time, and sometimes I still can feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
So I get curious about the other person and just really find out what area of their life they'd like to be more enjoyable. That's where I would go.
I had a feeling that that's what you would say.
Yeah, I'm not avoiding your question.
No, I could press on you, and I don't sense you're avoiding it. And I think that's one of the beautiful gifts that we as coaches offer is that we make no assumption that we are some expert. Although I know that we've both done that before as coaches. We've played the expert or coach's god or whatever you want to call it. But it's a really beautiful invitation to respond to that question with, I don't know, why don't we carve out some time together and I'll ask you some questions and you'll tell me, and to press on it. So if someone made space for you, and so like role reverse, and you ask someone how to live a great life, and they very generously carve out 60 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever it is, and they start asking you like, where would you like to be more fully expressed, and what makes life great for you? How might you respond to that question or those questions?
I'm currently being coached by 3 coaches.
Mm,
So I think coaching is incredible. And I get lots of time carved out where I come to my coaches and I go, let me tell you where it's not so great. And then I tell them, sometimes it's in my business, sometimes it's with a particular client that I'm feel stuck with,
mm,
sometimes it's in more and more my personal life. Because I
mm,
learned a number of years ago that when my personal life was um, working well, so was my business life. And I really
mhm,
got into this whole idea of like, oh, wow, whole life coaching. So I bring it to my coaches. And what I'm finding more is that when I'm identified with an idea of myself that's always based on some level of deficiency or lack, I will have some level of suffering, some level of dissatisfaction, seeking, wanting to find an answer, and most of it is elusive. I'm
mhm,
looking for something to fill a void that I perceive is here, but that void is mind created. It is something that I'll never be able to achieve. I'll never be able to fill that void. And the more that I can start to recognize what is and is not achievable, then I'm better able to focus my mind on what do I want? What do I want to create? Rather than what can I get to feel whole? What can I get so that
mm,
I finally feel good about myself so I can stabilize my emotional experience? Because, gosh, I can't stand how this feels.
mm,
That if I'm looking in that direction, it's impossible to get it because our minds are constantly going above the line, below the line. They're coming up with concepts about ourselves that aren't true, but those concepts, those ideas feel real and true. Like
mhm,
for years, and this still comes for me. Um, this character, this identity was based on I'm not enough. Some version of, the giant umbrella of not enough, not good enough, too much,
mm.
uh, don't matter, unlovable, um, not smart enough, you name it, which is at the core of everybody who's searching for a great life and hoping to get an answer to that.
Mm. Okay, so many things. 3 coaches. What are, maybe like at a high level, what is distinct about each of the three? What makes it most supportive for you to be working with 3 different people rather than like 1 or 2?
Yeah. Well, at this stage of my life, I I just wanted to work with these 3 people. So one
Mm,
person I'm working with, she's a non-dual coach. She lives in the UK,
mhm,
and she is somebody I've worked with probably for the last 5 years. I've been in programs of hers. I've been
mm,
coached by her one-on-one. There's been such a significant impact on my life in terms of realizing more of what I am versus, like I said, this egoic character or this identity that has helped me tremendously and changed
mhm,
my life. And then the other 2 coaches that I'm working with, I'm part of a small group. There's 6 of us. And the focus of that group is growing our businesses, growing ourselves, um, strengthening our professional self, our service, our particular expression of service and who we are in the world. And I joined that group. This is my second year doing it because I wanted some colleagues. I wanted to be
mm,
around people who are building businesses like I'm building mine and who are open to learning with each other and learning from each other. So that's what I'm currently doing.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things, like one, it might be the thing that almost any really good coach is doing is identifying, it's, we can call it the ego or personality or like ways that we've learned to operate that don't feel like who we really are at our
Mhm.
core. Identifying those, you can call them also like limiting beliefs or just beliefs, period. Sometimes they serve us, like you've pointed out, and really dropping into a deeper place inside of us, and call that who we really are in non-duality. They're probably talking about wholeness and things like that. And I'm curious. This could be a really practical tool for anyone who's tuned in here. When you notice yourself in the different flavors of not enough that you started to lay out there, uh, what is it? How do you work with that? What does it look like for you to work with that, be with that, shift it, etc.?
Yeah. So I'll speak about like how I work with it, and if you need an example, let me know. So
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that was so confronting about how to work with this was that I was coached on allowing myself to have the sensations and to have the experience that came along with the narrative of not enough or I don't matter. And to allow myself to have those feelings, the ones that I had been avoiding pretty much my whole life,
Mm.
running from, shoving down, carrying anger, upgrading it to resentments. So I was encouraged to grow the capacity to have that emotion rather than
Mm.
trying to constantly manage how I felt by getting people to act differently, by getting myself to be different, by just attempting to control my internal state.
Mm.
That was super strange for me because I had spent years learning how to manage my internal state. So here I was given this new idea of like, what are you talking about? That sounds like hell. First of all, why would I even do that? But I was game and I trusted the coach that I had, and I allowed myself to have the feelings, like the mind would label it, but the sensations that would come in of fear or terror or shame. And I would be with it and I would
Mm.
just allow it. And doing that over a period of time when it would show up, there was a capacity that got developed to have it and not be so um, impacted by it.
Mm-hmm.
And be able to, even as it was coming in, ask myself, what do I want? Oh, I want to send this proposal to this client. Oh, I want to get on this podcast with Mike.
Mm.
Oh, I want to go work out. And allowing all of this and realizing I could be in the world going after what it was that I wanted that was achievable, and I could still allow this experience. And
Mm-hmm.
by allowing this experience and having more of it, it became less true and it changed how I saw the world, myself, the people in it. It changed my relationships. It literally allowed the lens through which I pretty much viewed the world my whole life, this lens of I don't matter, to start to drop off. So I was experiencing more of what was real rather than, the horror film that was
Uh-huh.
created through that lens of um, not enough. So
Uh-huh.
I can give you an example if you want.
Yeah, well, and this might lead to you sharing an example. I'm curious what has been revealed as real and true to you, and we can talk about like what impact has that had on relationships, business, actions you do or don't take, like getting specific and granular there too.
Sure. Um, so your question again is how
Yeah.
what is my experience now of myself?
What do you recognize as, like, there's a, these might not be the exact words, but there was this illusion that you were carrying, or a veil, a way that you were experiencing the world of, like, I need to control my emotions. I'm not enough, and in by allowing it to be there, and being with it, it sounds like you started to notice the let go of stories that were not true, that felt really true, and
Yeah.
started to see more clearly what was real and true for you. So the initial question, what is real and true for you?
Okay. So what is real and true for me in some moments is that character of not enough, I don't matter, she doesn't exist. And
Mm,
I'm simply having a conversation with somebody. I'm curious about what they're saying. Um, I'm, I'm, I just am. I'm this space. I'm this witness. I'm this observer of life
mm,
without the character. And then there's other times where full on I'm the character. I can
mm,
feel the racing heart. I can feel the
mm,
insecurity. I can feel the wanting to control. I can watch myself controlling, trying to
mm-hmm,
control. So it's both. But because of this ability to notice this lens and see that's actually how the world was being created, the noticing of it was what had it start to fall off in certain areas of my life. And it wasn't that I let it go.
mm-hmm,
It wasn't, I finally decided I'm going to release this part of my thinking. It no longer looked true, so it was no longer operating.
mm. Yeah. How would you characterize what is operating? Which is, I know, like, if when we get into a spiritual conversation, we're putting words on something that is really hard to do so. Uh, and I'm aware that, someone who's listening to this conversation is in, probably in some ways, trying to make sense of, like, how do I do this thing, or wrap my head around what they're talking about. So, uh, yeah, how how would you describe the witnesser, or the observer, that is able to? I'm also aware I might already be describing it, but, like, that is able to take in all of these experiences. Yeah, how might you describe that to someone?
I would describe it as when you close your eyes and there isn't any narrative going on, there isn't any emotional experience going on, what's left?
Mm,
And for me, what's left is this space, this presence, this beingness, and it isn't necessarily contained in this body. I love getting asked the question, so where are you? Are you behind the face?
mm,
Are you in the left arm? Like, where are you? And also, when you go to bed, where do you go? Where does that go?
uh-huh.
Where are you? And everybody knows this space, And for most of us, we've been so caught in, I was at least, the ongoing mind narrating everything. Like, when you get out of bed, you wake up. Do you wake up into the character or you just wake up?
Mm,
I typically woken up into the character, like in the
me too.
character. And then the character's like, you know what? It's time to get up. Let's go brush our teeth. It's narrating every darn thing. And a fun little exercise is to just hit 5 minutes on your watch or whatever without the narrative. Watch what the body does. All of a sudden, the hand raises, the lips are moving, the eyes are blinking, breathing's happening. Who the hell's doing that? And it's just amazing. Like, you can literally just watch the body do something for 5 minutes. Sometimes I'll tell clients to do this if they're ready for it. And it is the funniest thing. It's like this little robot can go around and do something without the narrative. It's doing things. The mind thinks it's telling it what to do, but it literally is the lag time. It's doing it, but it's narrating it.
Yes.
Now, I have to be super honest, Mike. If I had tuned into this conversation 5 years ago, I would have thought, "Where's the off button, man?" Because I don't know what this woman's talking about. Seriously, I really would have. It has been a real adventure for me, and I am in the nascent stages of this. So
Hmm.
I'm not the expert on any of this except my experience of noticing how I'm not the character that doesn't matter, how sometimes I think I am, all of that.
Yeah. No, this is first of all, yes, 5 years ago, I'm remembering the podcast that I was listening to in early COVID or mid COVID, and I would have turned this one off too. So this is not a conversation for everyone. And,
I
and
want to, can I ask, what podcast were you listening to?
I remember mostly Tim Ferriss was like my guy, and I would kind of delve into Brene Brown was someone that I turned to a lot, and I still love both of them, but they had a way of these really, I felt like these really depthful conversations occurring that in a way that my mind was always engaged.
Yeah.
So those were the types of conversations that I was listening to. I would have turned this one off. And uh, I'm walking this path with you too in this moment where uh, chasing or trying to make sense of the things that felt most important to me, like inner peace and freedom and abundance. It's over time, it has started to make more and more sense to me that those are they're here now. That the quickest access point to those things is letting go of narrative and letting go of this idea of what needs to happen. And one of the reasons I would have turned off this conversation is because I would have been sitting there asking myself, what the fuck do I do with this? Because it sounds too easy in some respects, and also like impossible. It was hard for me to imagine that there was a world beneath my thinking, my feeling, even the sensations in my body. That there was that feeling of like, wow, it's all here right now. Life feels really infinite. I'm in touch with all of my abundance and creative capacity, and where do we go from here? That I'm learning to access that, and that the mind can be a really powerful tool to walk alongside that, to like go out in the world and create things. And that was another thing that didn't make sense to me in the past. That like I would hear people all the time say the mind is a terrible master and a wonderful servant. And it like kind of landed with me. It's like, that makes sense. But how does it be a servant? And I'm learning. That's what I can say. I'm learning to organize my thinking around what we're describing. I think is really just like our inherent life force that's always here, that we're generally least present to, and we're trying really hard to go get the thing instead of just being with that it's already here right now. Right? Is that?
Yeah. You explained it beautifully. I mean, that's it. So I'm this, so I've been identified for a long portion of my life with the narrative. Like I used to believe that if I thought something, I'd only think things that were true.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I remember that. And then I remember being told, well, I don't have to be fooled by my thinking. And then I don't have to believe everything I think. And then I'm told, guess what? You're not even the thought created character that your mind thinks you are, that you've been identified with, that you've been attempting to stabilize for decades. That's not you either. It's like, what? What? And I would have been the same. Like, what do you do with this? And what are these people talking about? And it's nuts. But I could start to see the futility in trying to secure an idea, a concept of me that could never be secured, because its sole purpose in life was to survive, meaning the character of deficiency believed by this mind to be true had to continue to exist. It was going to fight for its life. It felt like if that idea of me would go, then what was I? Almost like this nihilistic view of things. And but I saw little glimpses, enough to start to have parts of the lens of not mattering fall off, and then see a little bit more and see a little bit more. And that was thrilling for me. It's like unbelievable. Like you said, it's here right now.
Yeah. It's a really practical example, and then we can start to connect some dots in your story and your approach to learning. Those are two things that are really interesting to me. I was thinking of someone like Will Smith, who has been very public about how empty and hollow success, or like chasing a certain status or a level of accomplishment, even when doing so in a way that like feels really alive, if there's any level of, when I get there, it's going to provide X for me, which is so sneaky because I do that from time to time. It runs really deep. If there's any of that, it always, only always, is a reminder that it's not on the other side of that. And I like to bring forward the examples of the most quote unquote successful people. And Will Smith came to mind because he's someone who I have studied to some degree and who's kind of walking his own spiritual path, and like has been really vocal about how empty it is. And I've had the good fortune of experiencing that to my own degree. Like the bar was different for me. I didn't need to be this world famous actor for me to realize that it was all a myth and hollow. And I would say, like, I've had the good fortune of recognizing all these things that I thought would fill me are if they're not created from already recognizing everything that's here now, then that's not going to magically change one day. And feels really good to be living that and not just reciting that, because I've heard that many times, but it feels really true in this moment. So I wanted to name that, and I'm sure the conversation will dance back in this arena in some ways. I'm curious what, like, I've heard you talk a little bit about what had you more intentionally start walking this path. And it was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was as a parent and your relationship with your son that had you start to take a closer look at, like, how am I, you probably wouldn't have asked it this way, but like, how am I creating the experiences that I don't want to have happen? And I'm curious, like, more specifically about what were you noticing with, it might be a really simple answer, like we just didn't have good connection and that was really important to me, but what was present with your son that had you ready to start exploring this more consciously?
Yeah. So what you and I just talked about, and we'll call it non-dual, was something I started exploring more consciously 5 or 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to that, I started exploring limiting beliefs, but I didn't even know about that. What had me do it was that I had two very young children at the time. Let's just say they were 4 and 2.5 or something. And my oldest, my son, um, he, I had this idea that parenting would be easy. And I just thought, oh, well, we'll just get with the program, kids, and then, we'll just do life and it's going to be all good. Well, I was given this amazing kid who wasn't going to, quote unquote, get with the program. And I had enough awareness to realize that if I kept going on the path that I was on, and mind you, I started to wake up to what was going on when he was around 4. If I kept going on that path, I was very aware, like I knew by the time this kid became a teen, we would have no relationship. So I was lucky that I was at least aware that was going on because I tried all kinds of things. But I also, one of my deepest desires with both my kids, they're now adults, was to, and I couldn't name it back then, but was to have a really loving, connected relationship. That mattered to me more than him getting with the program. So I started down the path of, all right, well, I'm responsible for my own experience. What's actually occurring here that's creating what I don't want? What
Mm-hmm.
am I believing? What's happening? So I was highly, highly motivated because the relationship I wanted was more important than me thinking I had the right way. And the way I was approaching it was how it had to be. So that
Yeah.
was that was the beginning.
Yeah. What was your version of getting with the program? So like if your son got with the program, what was that vision for you?
Yeah, he would
Uh,
do what I'd say.
so it was like I am the authoritator or author.
Yeah,
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 yeah. I mean, I would really like to come off a little bit more enlightened here, folks, but no, that's just what it was. Like, these are reasonable requests. Let's just get with the program and have a good life. So, yeah, that's what it was. And yeah, he just wasn't going to get with the program. And I'm really glad he didn't because I've got a completely different life as a result of that.
yeah. Is there a? I'm a parent right now. I have a 2.5-year-old son.
Nice.
I
Mhm.
get with the program feels, it's sometimes at that age it's like, dude, dancing in the middle of the street when we're crossing a city street, like you got to get with the program. And of course there's like a level of my duty as a father is keep him safe, but it's really, I have found it is like really easy when when my kid is young, and I imagine when your kids were young, that like they don't know anything. Of course, I'm the authority. Of course, they need to get with the program. Uh, so I am selfishly curious, like what if someone kind of like took a video recorder into your home for a day, pre-realization and post-realization, what started to happen differently?
I was more loving. I was more accepting
Mm,
of him, of myself. I was very aware how I was utilizing unhappiness in order to get what I want so then I could be happy. I, yeah, I came across different ways of parenting. I was testing things out all the time. I'm
mm,
with you. Get with the program. If I'm crossing a street, I'm going to pick you up and we're going to go. You know, especially if a car is coming. But this was more about there was a particular way he was supposed to be, and he wasn't that.
mm,
And it was almost as if the way I was had previously been approaching it was somehow that I had the power to bend him to my will.
mhm.
Now, that sounds extreme, but that's really what was going on. I can look at my own childhood and the era that I was raised, and you got with the program or you got hit. Now, I
Mhm.
wasn't hitting, I wasn't doing that, but yeah, I started to change. I started to recognize that he wasn't doing anything to me. He wasn't aggravating me. It was what I was
Mm,
believing.
mm.
And had to have yeah, a level of patience as well because this is a long journey. And I didn't have a lot of levity around it in the beginning. It was serious work. It was
Get with the
serious
program.
work with the program. Yeah, Mike, it was so long ago. I think what to me is so amazing now is the relationship I have with him.
Mhm.
So he's a 36-year-old man. He's, I consider him a friend. I get to learn from him. I got to
Mhm.
learn from him when I was younger, but it's the most incredible thing as a parent to realize, well, the parenting gig's up, like that's over. But
Mhm.
now what do I have? Like, oh, I've got this relationship with this adult, and to watch him navigate his life and build his own business and live where he wants to live. It's to me, I wouldn't trade that for anything. It's it's the best of what I've got, including my daughter, and just being in their lives and being invited into their lives. Like, that's
Yeah.
key. So many parents, their kids move far away and they don't want anything to do with them. So my thing is, wow, what's required so I can be invited into their lives? And it's no longer parenting. It's no longer, the golden moment, wink, wink, when I can teach you something. Or, if I were in your situation, I mean, all the stuff that you tend to do for a period of time with your kids. But yeah, I look at that journey and everything that I went through had nothing to do with him. And now I've got this relationship where I stand today, I want for him what he wants for himself.
Mm, that's really beautiful. All of
That's
that,
great. Thank you.
the whole thing. I'm taking that in. I can certainly use even more of that. It's not a it's not a totally novel concept for me, and yeah, every day I notice times where I zap myself into bend Nathan to your will.
Right. And then, you know, hey, we give it up with our kids and we start approaching our spouses this way or our
Hmm.
partners.
And
Angel
ourselves
Nine.
too.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's become abundantly clear. It's
Mm.
my coach recently sent me an arc. This could be an interesting anecdote that's it's resonated with me and very applicable to what we're talking about. And I was making a coaching request around how I am being with my son, because I'm recognizing the ways that I experience frustration and impatience, and then take that out on him
Yeah.
to some degree, certainly energetically, even if my words might be. I get that. I know that you just were wanting some adventure right now, but like underneath that is me not able to be present there. And my coach sent me this article that had an anecdote about, like, I think it was a monk that was teaching a class, and he told everyone who was in the class, all right, imagine that you're holding a cup of coffee, and then someone bumps into you and you spill your coffee everywhere. And then he asked the class of people what was the question he asked? Is it why did coffee spill out of your cup? And everyone said, because you bumped into me, or because that person bumped into me. And he said, it spilled out of your cup because coffee was in your cup. Meaning, if water was in the cup, water would have spilled out, and if juice was in the cup, juice would have spilled out. And then the article went on to explain kind of like the inside out approach to, well, if there's anger and frustration that's coming out, air quotes again, because of your kid, like life is bumping into me and I am spilling out what was already present. And there's an opportunity, like what you were pointing to uh, fill the cup with what we are. I mean, that's the conversation that we've been having, filling it with love, kindness, compassion, understanding. I've really experienced in you a humility, like this was never mine to control, and it's certainly not now with my adult children. And yeah, that feels really core to who we all are when we are at our best. And I know that is who we are, and that lives in each of us. So I felt called to share that example. I also, this is, I think it's not really a left turn, because it aligns a lot with a lot of what we've been speaking about. But one thing that I wanted to make sure that we spoke about today, because you and I have shared it, another thing that we've shared was a resistance to learning, or a relationship to learning, like it was bad. And what we've been speaking about for the first 40 plus minutes together, in a lot of ways, has been different things that we've learned and picked up along the way that have enhanced our experience of life. And when we talk about the long game of learning, or a relationship to learning, I certainly, for various reasons, came from a place of, like, my identity was built on being someone who didn't need to learn. Like, that was something that someone did because they were deficient in some way, and I was supposed to just know things at a certain point. Like, I graduated from learning, and then I know. And it feels like one of the ultimate things that can shift one's life, and is absolutely continues to shift my life, uh, is just approaching learning from a much more generative place. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about your journey of learning how to learn, and like what feels important to you about learning and being a learner.
Yeah. Well, you sound like me. Yeah, I graduated from learning. Now I know. And if I have to go back and learn, that's evidence that yeah, I'm deficient, I'm wrong, I'm bad, I never got it. Um, so identified with that. Right, wrong, good, bad. Learning was something I had to keep under wraps. I
Mm.
couldn't show that I didn't know. I couldn't expose that I didn't have the answers because I just had this belief that I was supposed to have all the answers about everything in the world. That's just crazy. I was I was at this event where the people who were running this event for the weekend, they showed this circle, and there was maybe, let's just say, 1/16 of a piece of the pie of the circle, and they said, "This is what you know." Like, this is what you know. And this is generous, by the way. This is what you know based on everything in the world. And then they cut out another piece of pie. So it was like, let's just say it was a quarter of the circle. And they said, this part is what you know that you don't know. Like, I know that I don't know how to change a tire in a car. Could I
Mm-hmm.
figure it out? Could I learn? Sure. But I know that I don't know that. I know that, um, I don't know how to do three quarters backflip or whatever. I know these things. And then they pointed to the rest of the circle was everything that you don't know that you don't know. And I found that so funny because here I had this belief that I was just supposed to know everything. And this is a belief that I carried into my 20s, into my 30s. It was in my 40s, and my experience of thinking that to be true was that learning was very confronting. It was embarrassing. It was shame filled. Uh, why would I want to expose myself to that? But there was something that I really wanted. And what I really wanted was I wanted a thriving coaching practice. I wanted to know how to create clients. I wanted to get better as a coach. Forget the good life or the great life. I didn't care about that. Just like dial me in on this one. I wanted to make money. I wanted to be paid for my work. And so I had to start learning, and it was so uncomfortable. I would initially, when I started getting coached, I would like act like I knew. I was so
Mm.
uncoachable because there was so much ego to protect until over time, I don't know, I just realized that the more that I was honest, open, and willing, the more that
Mm.
I could bring to my coach and not hide, the more that I could like really expose myself. And by the way, this did not happen overnight. We're talking, this was at least a 10+ year journey that now I could get on with the thing that we're all built to do, which is to learn. We're learning machines until
Mm-hmm.
we get a belief that says, no, no, that's bad. That's don't let anybody see you're broken.
Mm-hmm.
And my relationship changed as I realized, oh, look at all the things that I can create in the world because I was willing to learn, because I was willing to stumble, because I was willing not to get it right,
Mm-hmm.
because I was willing to reveal to a client, listen, I got nothing here. So where do we go? Where do you want to
Mm.
take this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
So that's been my journey, and even more to keep learning. So I'm currently I'm collaborating with a coach who's actually in Greenpoint, and she's
Mm.
this incredible coach. Um, and we're doing this collaboration, and we made this commitment to each other. We're going to be extraordinary collaborators. So what is that going to require? Well, it's going to require, we both agreed that we're going to reveal to one another to be known. Like, I mean, I'm not going to dump my stuff on her, my judgments. I'm going to take care of that myself to be 100% responsible. But I'm going to share with her, I'm really uncomfortable in the last coaching group that we did because I felt like I'm just revealing it, and is that my mind was in this comparison, like your coaching's way better than mine. And
Mm.
it's not for her to fix me. It's not for her to go, oh, Melissa, feel better. It's just for her to know me, and for me
Mhm.
not to try to hide that. And I know my sense is that you do this, Mike, like because we started out our conversation in this way, but it is the most healing, loving possible thing ever. And we'll end up laughing. She's like, "Oh my gosh, me too." And that I'm not looking for the me too. I'm just looking to be real, which is
Yeah.
part what allows you to learn. Like a little kid, like Nathan.
Yeah.
There's nothing he's protecting. There's no idea about him that he's got to look polished or he's got it together. He'll get there one day. We know it. Nobody's immune to this. And it's not like you want to kill off the ego anyway. It serves a beautiful purpose, but that's what's changed. And that's why I have three coaches. Are you kidding me? Tell me
Yeah.
more. What don't I
Yeah.
see? What don't I know? Um, hey, I'm going to go do this crazy thing. And one of my coaches said, Melissa, I want you to delight in fucking it up. I'm like, I'll do it and I'll be back.
Oh, even just hearing that feels edgy for me. Like what a phrase. Delight in
Right?
fucking up. But that does feel like maybe the frontier of being open to learning is like,
Yeah.
wow, if it really was not a big deal at all, if it was delightful, if I fucked up, like what could be possible? That's really cool.
Yeah. It reminds me of the woman who started Spanx,
Mm. Remind me her
right?
name?
Yeah, I'm like, let me Google this really quick. It was Sarah, wasn't it?
Sarah Blakely. Sarah Blakely.
Sarah Blakely. And her dad was totally into God, who was it? It was some guy, back I can't remember. It'll come to me. But he was really Wayne Dyer. He was really into
Mm.
Wayne Dyer, and he gave her all these Wayne Dyer tapes, and
Hmm.
she'd listen to him. And his whole thing was he'd say to her and her brother, "I want you to go, and I want you to go fail."
Hmm.
And so every week, maybe you heard the story, they'd come at the dinner table and he'd say, "So what did you fail at today?" And she said, "If I didn't fail at something, he was so disappointed in me." And I remember fail. I mean, I can't even imagine because I was trying to get it perfect. I was trying to be right. I was trying to look like I had it together. And here she was encouraged to go fail. So she said, I had to go do stuff because if I didn't come back with some failure, he'd be like, go back to school or whatever and go fail at something,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is just go learn. You're
Yeah.
super easy to talk to, by the way.
Thank you.
You really are.
Likewise.
And you really have a depth to you. I'm just super impressed and excited about you, and being such a young man, having this exposure at this time in your life to understanding more of what you are. Oh, I'm so thrilled for you.
Thank you.
It's like I have like little tears thinking about it. And your son is so fortunate. Oh,
Thank you.
yeah, it's so good.
You want to know what I say this with humility. I in moments where I'm really quiet, I recognize that it is like I feel so grateful that I have started to connect to this at this point in my life, and
Yeah.
what a gift it is to to myself and to my family and my son, and we've got another boy on the way, and uh, so yeah.
What do you do? When are you having the baby?
May 30th, so it's really approaching. Yeah.
Oh, May is such a great month.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
exciting. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words, and I recognize it as true. So that's beautiful. I'm proud of myself that I'm able to get that and see that about me.
Yeah.
And then in a lot of ways, that's kind of the calling that preceded me doing something like having these conversations, right? Like there's I love the ability, and it was a yearning that I had, was to have more of these types of conversations, and that's one of the beautiful things about creation is that while the yearning in some ways was instruction of me to go make the thing that I felt really called to, and it brought up all sorts of my stuff. So talk about a real learning experience, and there's been lots of episodes that I've recorded, maybe not lots, but I can distinctly remember at least one or two where at the end of the conversation I hung up the call that we were on together, and I started to really beat the shit out of myself. Like I was like, oh, I really admired that person, and like this was my chance to show them how I'm like the best interviewer and give them such a powerful experience. And it's not like that doesn't show that's in some ways that's what was showing up before we jumped on together. Uh, I'm learning to be with that more gracefully and just like, oh, that's the part of me that really wants to be impressive and do to be the best and all that. Uh, but this has been a really rewarding part of my learning experience is sitting across from people who then my illusion of you and other people sometimes is like, the first last name treatment, like that's Seth Godin, sitting over there, and like what that means about who I need to be and how I need to show up. And
Yeah.
so yes, I'm with you on the it's learning to learn is a really quite a transformative experience, and the I'm loving the invitation of like really delighting in failing. Like I'll say something publicly here that I like can't believe that I'm saying it, but I'll say it. There's I've really traversed a lot of things, like Michael of let's invoke Michael of 5 years again. This podcast didn't yet exist. It was kind of a bubbling up yearning. Michael of 5 years ago would have been blown away at the things that are being created in my life, the level of prosperity in my business, the father I am, the podcast I'm creating, and just like the way that I move through my life would have been just mind blowing to Micah 5 years ago. And in this moment, something that from time to time, if you like asked me, uh, what's one thing, if you had to do like the thing that you're most terrified of doing, and use the lens of learning here, like if you had to learn how to get really good at one thing, what would be like the most challenging or scariest thing that you could do? And I would be, yeah, I'll say this as a corollary. Like if you and I were in the middle of Madison Square Garden right now doing this interview, I would be, my heart would be pounding, my palms would be sweating, and all sorts of things would be happening. But I really, underneath that, really confident in my ability to deliver, to have a conversation like we're having right now. Uh, and if I were to like really lean in, stand up comedy is this. I put stand up comedy on this pedestal of like, God, if I people would see like just how unfunny, unoriginal, they would see me freeze. They would see like those deep seated fears still live in me, and that would be an interesting endeavor to like if talk about really delighting and failing. stand-up comics, part of what my understanding, what makes them great is that they are willing to get up there and just like totally bomb. And that's what makes them stay in the game and master their craft ultimately, is because they're just like, yeah, that was a rep. That was a thing that happened, and I'm going to learn from that, and then I'm going to show up the next day and then do that thing. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That felt like I got to reveal something that was. I released some of the shame and fear that I hold around that, and I'm in touch with how powerful a mindset of like a life set, really not a mindset, but like really living like this is just I'm going to show up and do this thing, and if it fails really miserably, then great, I get feedback, and that's how I'm going to learn forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I also love stand-up comedy. I mean, I
Have you
just
done it before?
love humor.
Uh huh.
I have done some improvisation. I haven't done stand-up, but I absolutely love humor. Um, just really do, and all kinds of it, you know. But what over in my world, it isn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to go look where I might fail. What
Mm.
tends to happen over here is it's what do I feel pulled to
Mm-hmm.
do?
Mm-hmm.
And it absolutely terrorizes me. Now, I'm not moving towards it because it terrorizes me. Like, oh, I'm going to go do the scary thing. It's more that the thing that from this perspective looks scary or terrifying is the thing that I really want for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get up in front of a group of people and do a presentation and have humor in there and be relaxed and do all those things. Sometimes they'll show up. And even if internally the sensations are different, that's no reflection of what's really going on in the room. I'm having
Mm-hmm.
my own internal experience. But that's where I go. It's like I get pulled towards like, oh, I really want this thing. Like this collaboration with this coach. I really want to get great at collaborating. I really want to be in front of a room of 500 people. I want to sit on center court at Madison Square Garden or
Yeah, me too.
and that's like, yeah, so I want that. And I really feel that maybe it's not for everybody, but desire, that's why we're here. We're here
Mm.
to fulfill these desires and to have this level of expression and be more of what we really are. Um, and I'm not going to, I think that's why I love learning. It's like, I'm not like, let's take the foot off the brake. Let's take the handbrake off. Let's stop that and let's go for it. And
Yeah.
whatever internal experience I have, bring it on. Because I am not going to hold back. One of the things that I wrote about in my book was, there was so much protection. And when Steve Chandler wrote me that email and it said, when are you going to stop living like you're never going to die? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
shit, that's happening. And I was in my late 40s when he wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
He never even remembers sending that to me, which I think is so awesome. But it really did. It woke me up. Like, what am I doing? Um, So I just wanted to add that it's like I get pulled towards these
Mm-hmm.
things. Me 5 years ago, having a conversation with you, I would have been terrified.
Mm.
I had a
Yeah.
little wobble, before we got on. I was like, oh yeah, what's this Riverside thing? It's not working.
Uh-huh.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love that distinction of being pulled or called, or it just being something that it's like, my words would be, it wants to be created through you,
yes,
versus like, there's a way that it can be ego driven, or like I need to go do that thing because it proves something about me, right? Like something like that, which isn't necessarily what I was saying, but yes, like I have leaned into where there's been tremendous fear that I've leaned into.
Mhm.
It's been the same kind of sensation. That's what had me start a business and do this podcast and be a parent. And that pull feels really visceral.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the way that you laid that out there. I want to talk. There's a couple of different avenues. Like as I've read through your book twice, and one of the things that, service, of course. Like we haven't explicitly spoken about service really, so that would be an interesting. We could talk about that, but before we do that, this is a really ongoing part of my learning journey, and one that I think any listener would benefit from tremendously. It was when I read it in the book, I was like, "What? That's an option that we have." I mean, from my lens, it's as a coach, but I imagine that people can use this in all sorts of ways. And I think there's a whole chapter on recovery.
Hmm.
So could you talk about what recovery is, the way that you are talking about recovery, maybe an example of it or two?
Yeah. In the book, I talked about asking for a redo.
Mm.
And part of my learning, thank goodness I had a phenomenal coach. Thank you, Steve Chandler, who helped me. I coached with the man for 15 years and so grateful to that guy for hanging in there with me and sharing things with me that they were things that I didn't know that I didn't know. And he'd
Yeah.
share them and I'd be like, what? You can do that? And of course it was terrifying. I had one particular instance that I wrote about where there was a guy that I had offered some coaching to, and we had a few sessions, maybe three. And then the fourth one, I told him, here's what it would look like if you and I would continue. And the guy, when I told him my fee, which I wasn't, I would often steel myself for like, oh, what was going to be somebody's response to my fee? But back
Uh-huh.
then it's way different today. And he just said to me, I can't do that. I just can't do that. And I went, okay. And then that was the end of that. And in the coaching session, Steve asked me, well, how badly do you want to work with this guy?
Mhm.
And I said, I really want to. And I also said, I realized based on what the coaching was and his limited understanding of what the coaching could do, and he had never really been coached before, I would have said no too.
Mm.
And I was told, I heard Steve say, well, why don't you just tell him that? Why don't you just tell him that you would have said no too? And no skin off your nose. Why don't you offer him half of what you were willing to offer? You don't have to discount your fee. You don't have to do any of that. So I went back and said to this prospective client, can you talk? I want to share something with you. And I have to say, Mike, it took every fiber of my being to say to this man, I want to share something with you. And back then I didn't really realize I was revealing something. I was just asking for a redo. I said, I would have said no too. And this guy was shocked. And I said, here's why. You don't know what we can create together. You don't know what is available.
Mm.
So let's have a couple of more sessions and then we'll be done. So I
Mhm.
just coached my little heart out, helped this person. This person was coachable. They went out and created some things, and they came back and they go, "Okay, I see what you're talking about. So, what are we going to do?" I said, "Let's just do half of what I offered," and I coached the guy. So, asking for a redo, um, sharing, "Oh, I don't think I handled that coaching session super well," or
Mm. Mm.
my sense was you got upset by something that I said. tell me what it is. Like the reveal, the redo. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that in my personal life too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm practicing doing that more and more. You know, whether it's my husband or adult kids or a friend or anything.
Yeah. Is there an example that it's totally okay if nothing's coming up? Is there an example, personal life that comes to mind?
Yeah. I don't have anything real specific like current, but I do remember going back to my daughter and saying something like, my sense was I came off really judgy about something,
Mm.
and I could have um, really recognized my part in this and gotten clear and then come back to you and apologized, and I didn't. So I'm apologizing now. And I just want to make sure, is there anything that you need me to do so you and I can get back on
Mm.
you know, in our own balance? Is there anything? And that was scary.
Mm-hmm.
That was scary because what was playing in my mind is, oh, I could get cut out, or she could really, you know, not want to talk to me, all the fearful things. And she just looked at me and she goes, no, thank you. We're good. You and I are good. So it's that kind of thing. The very thing that I'm afraid to do, I realize I've got to go do it,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. No, that's it's powerful that you have recognized that across all areas of life, and I'm recognizing that more and more over here too. That
Yeah.
it it always creates the connection, the love, the openness.
Yeah. 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 I remember recently something was going on with my husband, and I've spent a lot of years, again, you know, get with the program, look like you have it together. That's just kind of this default way of operating. And I felt very worried about him, a particular thing that was occurring for him. And I was very worried. And gosh, if I admit I'm worried, you know,
Mm.
what does that mean about me? And shouldn't I figure that out so I'm not worried and I've got this perfect state of calm and peace? And out of my mouth came, you know, I've just been really worried about you. And it was the strangest response. He said, well, that's nice. Thanks for caring about me. And like, that was it. There wasn't anything to do. He didn't have to change behavior. He didn't have to make me feel better. But it was like you said, it was connecting with somebody. I was being very real. I'm worried.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems it sounds like an echo of just like really wanting to be known, like with you in the collaboration that you're talking about. It's not because you need to do anything with this. It's I want you to know me, and like being willing to share your experience.
Yeah. Being willing to share all sides of Melissa, not just this polished version.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've appreciated most about you, and it's so apparent in the book. This is if you're watching on YouTube and video, you could see them. I'm holding up Living Service. It's a real breath of like, wow, this woman is holding nothing back. She's really walking us through how hard it was for her, and uh,
Yeah.
hard won lessons in a lot of cases. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate your willingness to go there.
Thanks,
Um,
Mike. I want to just say thank you for that because it was one of those things that was super scary. I had been in lots of rooms with coaches and everybody's showing their, you know, their Instagram self and their big wins and how much money they're making. And I'm feeling pulled to create that book where I'm really telling you what a shit show it's felt like over here.
mhm.
And I was advised by a few people bad move. Like,
Mm.
that's not your brand. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's not going to be well received. And my coach said, "Oh, Melissa, coaches love vulnerability." And I'm like, "This isn't vulnerability. This is sheer on shame."
Oh,
But I did it, and I put it out there, and it was just something that I had to do. So thank you.
yeah, you're welcome, and thank you. I mean, I shared with you, as a coach, I was so inspired with one of the things that happened in your book, and this could be an on ramp into us talking more explicitly about service. Unfortunately, before bringing it to a close for now, uh, you started a service group
Yeah.
where you talk about being known. Like you were with, you basically started your own kind of mastermind of other coaches who were really committed to building a prosperous coaching business, and you started to reveal, like, I think it was organized around what's my biggest fear, and
Mhm.
like how can I lean into my biggest fear, and I felt inspired. I did something scary. I left a 5-minute voice note to a community of coaches that I am a part of, and a couple of people answered the call, and we're still ongoingly. I had some really meaningful support this morning on a challenge that I'm having with a prospective client, and so I wanted to share that with you, that it's led to really tangible things in my life, and I imagine for many people who listened, read the book. And so one of the things, another one of the things that is so, I think, resonant is the way that you have kind of laid out what service means to you and invited us as a reader to consider, what does service mean to me? And yeah, if you could share a little bit about, you wrote the book probably like 7 years ago or something now, or maybe
Mhm.
even a little bit more. And I'm curious, like, how you look at service in this moment and what it means to you, and maybe how that's evolved over time.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely evolved over time, and it took me such a long time to understand what service was. And somebody recently sent a podcast. They said, "Hey, I was listening to this. It's an old podcast that's not even, podcast didn't even exist then. It was a recording with
Mm.
Steve Chandler, and there were a bunch of coaches. And there's somebody that said, 'What does service mean?' And I think it was you. I don't know how long ago. I've got to go back and listen to it, but I thought, oh my gosh, I bet it was, because I struggled with that concept, because I didn't really care about serving. I just wanted to be paid as a coach for the work that I did. And fortunately, I fell into the ecosphere of Steve Chandler and the Prosperous Coach. So back then, um, it was simply, how can I help?
Mm-hmm.
How can I help? And a willingness to listen, ask questions, etc. And that has changed over the years, because I've evolved. I've changed. And it still is, how can I help? But it's so much more, um, how can I love you?
Mm. Mm.
How can I really love you? How can I listen in a way where I can really hear you? What do you need? What do you want? What do you think you don't have right here now? Um,
Mm.
what do you believe? Um, so for me, it's expanded into really loving someone else, and in turn, with all this revealing and seeing more of what I am, and um, the work that I do, and my willingness to ask for redos or recover or any of it, um, it's really opening up more to the love that I am.
Mm.
It's not even self love, it's just seeing more of what I am. And that's, to me, what service is. It's not about getting it right. It's not about having all the answers. It's not about hitting the mark.
Mm.
Um, that's what it is. It's what service means to me today.
Yeah, that's really moving. I could feel the love in how can I help. Well, we're starting to. I tend to wrap things up a little bit slowly, and I want to be mindful of our time boundary here together. And so I have just a few more questions for you before we wrap up. One of them is, so I run a community called the Search for Meaning Community, and it's really guided around and gathered around this question of how do we thrive as human beings. And really, this conversation, I think, is at the core of how I seek to create in my life and have a space where, like, thriving is a place where we connect to this place of aliveness and love inside of us, and then create, like what you have done in your life, uh, things on the outer world, like a financially prosperous coaching business or whatever you're feeling called to. And one of the things I love about my community is that 25% of the proceeds go directly to an organization that's always a really meaningful organization making a difference. And you have brought forward, I sourced these from each of my podcast guests, and you've brought forward Rebels of Peace as the organization. So if you could just say a word or two about what had you select Rebels for Peace and what are they doing in the world. Let's start there.
Yeah, thank you. I so appreciate that you do this. It's not something I typically come across, so thank you.
Mm.
Rebels for Peace is an organization that serves kids on the south side of Chicago who are underprivileged, under-resourced, and they teach them about their social emotional learning, about
Mm-hmm.
how emotions happen, how the mind, brain, body works, and that they help them be able to have emotions and learn about themselves and how they can be the better version of themselves. And
Mm.
it's run by a group that the executive director's name is Prince Jamar. He's this amazing man who's, lives on the South Side himself. And he has, speaking of somebody who's walked into his own journey and moved into areas that haven't been comfortable for him as he
Mm.
continues to expand his role. And like he would always say, I'm great at loving kids, but now I'm
Mm.
asked to step into another version of myself to keep this organization going. So he's there leading the way. There are a number of mentors who are people in their 20s who are teaching these kids, being with these kids, and it's ages, I believe it's fifth through eighth grade, and it's a 26-week program, long program during the school year where they're with these mentors. They call these kids mini rebels. They're with these
Mm.
mentors every week. And for a lot of these kids, it's really a place where they can get quiet, where they can also be who they are, where they can
Mm.
express themselves and understand their potential. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, it really resonated with me because when it first came on my radar, I had this thought of, I was kind of here in Chicago wringing my hands like, oh, the gun violence and all this and these kids and how are we going to help people and who's going to do it? I don't have time for it.
Mm.
I'm building a business, I'm doing all these things, but I was just scared. I was
Mm-hmm.
scared that maybe it would take up too much time or maybe I really wouldn't be equipped, like all the things, all the thinking. But this organization, um, yeah, I'm on board with them. I've created a thing called Team Peace, and we
Mm.
fundraise for that group. And they're just out there doing that, especially during this time when so much funding has been cut.
Yeah.
And this is what they do. And for me, this is the work that I do. This is the work that you do. And it's saved my life. Why
Hmm.
wouldn't I want it for the next generation of leaders? Like
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Mm. I love that. Well, thank you for bringing it forward. Uh, Honored to play some small part in contributing to a really powerful and meaningful cause. So um, inspired and appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, any bit makes a difference. It's something like 500 per kid, and it gets them a 26-week program.
Yeah,
So, we create one client at a time. We create one mini rebel at a time.
that's right. That's right. All right, Melissa. Well, just a few more, and we'll go on our merry ways and carrying this good energy into the rest of our day. So um, I'm curious, like one thing that has really stood out as it's not entirely unique, but I have been really struck by your ability to stay the course and stay the path, and like what allowed you to, when things weren't working or when you perceive them as not working, what had you stay the path in a world where there's a lot of discourse around the, like, how do you know when you should stay, how do you know when you should go, should I leave my job, should I stay at my job, am I not really cut out for this thing? And I know you worked with Steve Chandler for 15 years, and you probably had some really good people guiding you. But like, what had you uh, staying the path and recognizing in some way or another that you were on path?
Yeah. Well, something um, something that helped me stay on the path was for years I held a belief that I cannot do this. I cannot do it. And my coach said to me, "Oh, that's fine. Don't worry, you don't have to believe in yourself." I'm like, what? Really? He's like, "Yeah, you don't have to believe in yourself. It's like an extra flaming hoop you have to jump through. Don't worry about it." And I remember thinking, okay, well, that's a relief because I really don't believe in myself. So I held that belief for a long time. It was very painful. I would refer to it like the ball and chain around both ankles. But what kept me going was that I had gotten to a place in my life where I felt so flat and so life was so gray. And it's like, really, this is it? And I realized that I had to go for the thing that I wanted. And for me, it wasn't like I'm going to give it 6 months and then I got an exit ramp, or you know what, I'm going to give it 2 years and then I've got another exit ramp, plan B. Where I was at was like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it happen, no matter what it takes, or die trying. Now,
Mm.
I know it sounds extreme, but that's where I was at. And that's what I did. And I kept going, and things didn't look great. And I had all kinds of thoughts like, I should be further along. Why is this taking so long? Other people they're getting there faster than me. I'm a better coach. What are they doing? All this stuff. And so I just was like, no, I'm going for this thing. And I kept going. And then I'd hit a financial mark, and then I hit another one, and then I hit another
Mm.
one. And still, that led seeing some level of dissatisfaction. Like that still wasn't filling the void. But the cool
Mhm.
thing was that I kept going and found people to help me. But I was willing to go do the thing that was going to help me learn. So I got better at learning. I stayed the course. I wasn't going to give up. And I didn't have a lot of people around me saying, go get them.
Mhm.
I didn't have that. But honestly, that's not required. A lot of people say, oh, yeah, you need to have people rooting for you and behind you. And if you don't have that, you won't be able to do it. Mm-mm. You can do it if you really want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two powerful statements. You don't need to believe in yourself, and you don't need everyone behind you rooting for you. That's
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Well, Melissa, is there anything, at least for today's conversation, is there anything that we have not yet covered that feels important to you to bring in? If not, I have just one more question for you.
I'm ready for the final question.
Okay. Well, as you know, the podcast is called Mike's Search for Meaning. So I would love to know, and this happens like at the end of every conversation now, where in some ways this has been answered because like the whole conversation is about what a meaningful life is. But in this moment, in this very here moment, how would you describe what it means to you to live a meaningful life?
Have people in your life that you get to love every day. It can be anybody. It can be your neighbor. It can be your client. It can be a coworker. It can be the guy at the front desk. It can be anything. So that's what makes a life meaningful for me is having that kind of connection and being that loving connection. That's a meaningful life for me.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Melissa. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for listening to all your pullings and callings and creating this book. It has really impacted me, and you've really impacted me. So thank you for being here and saying yes to this invitation and having a really, I think we delivered on the goods and on our promise in the beginning of the conversation to have a really rich one.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for your podcast and going for it 5 years ago and continuing to go. So thanks so much.
All right. To everyone who's listening, sending you lots of love. Take good care. And until next time. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to Mike's Search for Meaning. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, share this episode with your friends, and leave a review. I look forward to seeing you next time, my friends. And until then, stay safe, stay well, and keep living with purpose. Peace.